Welcome to Week 15, everybody. If you're new here, hi, welcome to This Cat Can Ball, the show where we highlight one player each week who's largely been unknown either to riding the bench for a long time, being drafted late, or in some cases not even drafted at all, but they decided to show up this week, so we're giving them their moment in the spotlight. Now, Week 15, this is a really big deal. It really hit me. I don't know if anyone else has felt this, but you know how we have 17 games, 18 weeks this season? It really hit me now that I was thinking about how far games have been going. Usually when we had the 16 game setup, I was thinking, well, things are kind of wrapped up right now, right? Like the only teams that are really fighting are ones that are looking to just get into that last wild card spot, right? But now I was like, whoa, wait a minute, we have 3 more games to go. There's a lot more football to play. And especially considering some of the big things that happened. Like the Cardinals, I've been high on them all season. All of a sudden, they lose to the Lions, right? And it affects the NFL on both sides of this coin because Cardinals had that number 1 seed in the NFC, right? Going to the Lions. Last week when I spoke about it, I thought this was going to be a sure thing. The Cardinals are going to take home this 11th win. Further securing their number 1 spot. Not securing it like for good, but, you know, solidifying it, and this would push the Lions down further to getting that number 1 overall pick. Then all of a sudden the tables are turned. The Lions pull out this that probably has to be the victory of the season for the regular season in the NFL this year. Cardinals went from the number 1 spot to number 4. The Packers actually already punched their ticket to the playoffs. Good for them. The Lions, they gave up the first overall pick. So it's one of those like, damned if they do, damned if they don't. The Lions are polarizing even though they're always at the bottom of the barrel, but somehow they still are. Now, if we look at the playoff picture as is right now, the 2 teams from each conference that I have been projecting to make it in that weren't there previously, the Colts and the Vikings, they are in. But there's still a lot of football to play. Like I said, this is the week. Week 15 is the week that it finally hit me that we have 17 games, right? 18-week season. It's going to push the season further along. Super Bowl is going to be what, second weekend in February now? So yeah, week 15, we still have 27 teams with the possibility of making the playoffs. So these 27 teams, some of them are kind of already, they're going to be the division champs. So that means there's 8 teams that have that solid spot. They're going to get home field advantage. Actually, that's the main thing. The good thing about being a division champ is that you're going to host a playoff game, right? But the other teams are still duking it out. Just making the playoffs is good enough. You don't always have to have home field advantage. It sure is good, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to make it. You still got to fight. You still got to roll with the punches and see where you come out. Speaking of rolling with the punches, like last week, I kind of want to get to the cat that can ball this week. He's a little bit different because the week before, I talked about a guy from Kutztown University. Tiny school. This guy is a bit on the opposite side. Actually, quite on the opposite side. He went to Florida. He was a Florida Gator. In 2019 is when he declared for the NFL draft. And he actually got picked up in the 4th round. Didn't do so much. The guy's name is CJ Gardner Johnson. I'm going to tell you a bit about why he is deserving of the award this week, what he did, and what he's done to get here so far. All right, so coming out of Florida, he was a 4th round pick. Not too bad, right? So far, he's been largely unknown. You haven't really heard his name called because frankly, he hasn't done too much, but that's one of the things we look for on this show. And like I talked about rolling with the punches, this guy literally was involved in punches. And back in 2020, he was punched by one of his own teammates in practice. Michael Thomas, one of the Saints' best receivers, punched him in an altercation. And then less than a month later in a game, and that first altercation was in practice. And then less than a month later in a game, Gardner Johnson got sucker punched by Chicago Bears receiver Javon Sims. So not too bad, right? This guy is figuratively, almost literally having to fight his way to get a starting spot in the NFL. 2020, within 1 month, he got punched in by a teammate. A little less than a month later, he was punched by a opposing team, which actually did get Gardner fined. And then you fast forward later in that season, in the postseason, going up against the Bears again, Gardner Johnson got into another altercation with a Bears receiver, Anthony Miller, which led to Miller being ejected from the game. So it's kind of like, this sounds really funny to say, but it's kind of like he's won these 3-0 so far. The one against his teammate, the teammate got suspended for a week. The Bears receiver got fined, and he was suspended 2 games. So far, our cat is 2-0. And then later in the postseason, when he met the Bears again, Anthony Miller, the Bears receiver who was in the altercation with him, received a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct and was ejected. All the while, Gardner Johnson is just he's just trying to make his way through the NFL, but he's 3-0 so far, so good for him. But let's talk about this week, because the Saints did something that, frankly, I would have bet that it's impossible this season. The Saints defense actually shut out Tom Brady. And I say that, I know some people might get mad. You can say, well, the Buccaneers have a lot going on, right? They got Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, and yeah, they do. But that's Tom Brady, all right? It's hard to argue and say, well, if Tom Brady went down, they'd still have a shot. They wouldn't have a chance in hell. Gardner Johnson goes out against the vaunted Buccaneers offense, which was actually number 1 in the league. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure they had the number 1 scoring offense in the league. They got shut out 9-0. Gardner Johnson got himself 7 tackles, 6 solo. And the main thing I think is that, talking again about his fighting ability, the way he can roll with the punches, he's 3-0 so far. Brady actually fumbled on a scramble that he was going for, which is highly irregular of Brady. The scrambling, not fumbling. Fumbling happens to quarterbacks. They're not the best with ball control. He fumbled, and look what he does. He goes right up to Brady, and you can tell Brady even has a little bit of respect for him. You gotta admire a guy that's willing to do that, right? Especially to the GOAT, right? He's right there in the GOAT's face. He's giving him a little taunting. I think it was okay. The refs might, if that was someone else, the refs might have thrown a flag, but it seemed gentle enough, right? Buccaneers are driving. Possible game winning or tying or just a game intensifying drive. Gardner Johnson puts the dagger in the heart with a killer interception off Brady. And this is a huge deal because I have seen so many games, whether it's live, if it's college or NFL, so many games where you see the defender drop an interception. Sometimes they are dirt simple interceptions and they drop them and you want to rip your freaking hair out because you knew that would have clinched the game. If you want to look back in Brady's history, Brady is great when it comes to interceptions that don't happen, even though there's no way in hell the defender should have dropped it. Like D Ford did. If anybody remembers that Patriots-Chiefs game, D Ford could have clinched it for the Chiefs. He didn't. And that, for some reason, that's like a power-up for Brady. He gets just a surge of ability. So I knew when Gardner Johnson made that interception, it was crucial. It was clutch. And he showed right then and there.
This cat can ball, man.
So that's going to wrap up the show of this week, folks. I really hope you like it. If you do, make sure to hit like, comment, subscribe. These do come out on a weekly basis. But in the event that you forget, the bell will remind you. Comments are always great. The interaction is great for the algorithm. It helps me out. Tell me some things you like, didn't like some things that could be improved. That's the way that this show gets better, and I get better at presenting it. So yeah, just one more time, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. I am Omar, and I will see you guys next week.